Hello, Oracles. How was everyone's week? Quite a wild week in the stock market. We just seem to keep on going up, which, hey, I'm not going to complain about that whatsoever. But just kind of one of those things where it's like eventually we pull back. And it always happens. It's just the nature of the market. So the timing is going to be when? We don't know. Either way, the way we play these things is just kind of doing our thing. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't time the market. Some people do. I just take advantages and opportunities when I can. So give you guys a few minutes to get on here. Today, we're going to be going over, crypto has been running quite a bit lately. So we'll discuss that. SCHD had a 3-to-1 split this week, which is awesome. Their dividend went up significantly. And I'm going to discuss a little bit about the difference between normal stock company dividends and ETF dividends and how one can fluctuate. ETFs can kind of fluctuate, but you want to track that over the course of the year. So we'll discuss a little bit about that. And then then I'll give you guys a little briefing on what I'm going to be going over on Sunday's video. Sunday's video is going to be my top 5 ETFs that I have in my portfolio. So I'll break that up for you guys. That's part 1 of 3. The second part's going to be BDCs and REITs. And then the third one's just going to be dividend growth stocks. Hey, Dad, how's it going? So, yeah, so that's what we're going to be going over today. And then, of course, we got the PCE data that came in this morning. We'll discuss that. It's really no news. So we don't have a lot to discuss there, but it's honestly no news right there. So as far as inflation is concerned, everything is still good. And we had been discussing this for the last month is inflation is not the concern anymore. The concern now is unemployment. So we're going to be paying attention to the unemployment numbers that are going to be coming out in the first week of October, which is actually next week. We'll be getting the unemployment data that will let us know where the trend is. So we went from a 4.3% down to a 4.2%, but we've still been trending up despite the fact that we had that 0.1% down. So we really want to see what September's numbers look like in October to see if we're still on that trend or if it's something to be more concerned about. And again, just the market is we're moving upwards because we have this optimism and this hope that we're going to keep on moving up. So the question is going to be we see a lot of underlying fundamental cracks that are going on in the economy. Credit card debt's at the highest it's ever been. We've got unemployment is going up. There's a lot of the most bankruptcies we've seen in, I think, the last 13 or 14 years. So a lot of things that are going on in the underlying economy, just kind of like waiting for something to tip us over the edge. And is that thing that's going to tip us over the edge maybe be higher than expected unemployment next week? So we'll pay attention to that. How's it going, David? So you guys can let me know too. How was your week in the stock market? How are you guys doing over there? And I know some of you guys trade differently. And next week also will be Tesla's delivery numbers are coming out October 2nd. So I will be doing a video about the delivery numbers on that. So yes, I am still a Tesla fan, still Tesla investor. So I will be discussing those delivery numbers and what they could mean going into Robotaxi Day, the Robotaxi event, and then going into the next earnings in the end of October. All right. One thing I did want to show you guys, and I'll jump on there in a second, is I wanted to show you my learning curve. And one of the things that I have learned over the years is, you're never going to learn anything unless you try. And most of the time, you're probably going to fail or not be very good at it initially. Some people just are good at some things, but there's other things that you're not very good at. Chances are when you started something, you had a lot of things to learn along the way. And that happened with me with investing. And I've shared with you guys how in the first couple of years of investing, I actually lost quite a bit of money. And it took me a couple of years to get myself to a profitable standpoint, figure out my strategy, my style, and what's comfortable for me. And I ended up getting to a point now in dividends when I learned all of that. And you can see the learning curve with dividends for me. And I'll bring it up right now. Give me 1 second. And I'll show you guys where we got here. Share. All right, so here's my chart. So I want to show you, this is my 2023 chart. So this is my dividend income growth here. And so as you can see now, granted, I was switching over from not buying dividend stocks to buying high yield ones. So my income went way, way up So this is just the year overall, but just looking at it going through December, I was pulling in over $1,000 a month in income, which is awesome. The problem was is my entire portfolio was eroding in value because what I had was a bunch of high yield income ETFs that had a lot of NAV erosion. So fast forward to 2024 and you see it coming down. So now if you looked at this and you'd be like, well, I'm a horrible investor. Look at, my income's coming down. Why would I be investing in this? The reason you're seeing this is because I have been slowly selling out of those high yield income ETFs and putting that money into more stable income ETFs. That eventually is going to balance out probably end of this year and then start going up in 2025 will be a nice steady growth chart that should be going up left to right, a nice little swoop up. So that is my learning curve here was I learned high yield income ETFs look great for income, horrible for your overall portfolio value. And at the end of the day, I don't want to be losing money. So this was not going to be sustainable. So I made that switch very quickly. And that was my learning curve. So that's just something to pay attention to when you're doing things is you've always got to try. Just try new things. If you don't try, you'll never learn. And it's okay to fail, but try to learn as quickly as you possibly can. So I took in as much information as I could. I read up on all the different ETFs. I read up on different stocks, watched a ton of different YouTube content out there, both on the bearish and bullish side of everything to give me a good amount of information to make my own decisions. And that's what I came up with. So I learned it as quickly as possible. So within a year, I learned all of this information. I'm still, of course, learning. You're always going to be learning, but now I've got myself a good rhythm and a good pattern down. David, what do I think of Palantir? Love Palantir. I think Palantir is going to be phenomenal, especially long term. My only concern, and it's basically a concern for everything in the stock market, is how the economy is going to be over the next year. And again, this is one of those things where I've talked about it for the last 2 years because I thought we were going to get a recession earlier than this. And, some people say we were in a rolling recession. Some people think we may be in a recession right now. And when it comes to a recession, don't forget, by the time they tell us that we're in a recession, we had already been in one. Because even that information that they tell us that we're in a recession is lagging data. So if we are in one right now, perhaps we are in one right now, we won't know until the first quarter of 2025. And they're going to say, oh yeah, by the way, we were in a recession. So back to my point of when I was talking about this a couple of years ago, you pay attention to the stocks that are the strongest. Stocks, ETFs are, for the most part, depending on which ones you're looking at, going to be pretty stable and steady and come out of it fine. But if you're looking for individual companies that are going to do very well coming out of a recession, you've got to look at the strength in what they provide right now and how you think the landscape is going to look on the other side of a recession. So companies like Google, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, all of those should be perfectly fine. The Magnificent Seven should be fine. Tesla, I think, is going to be extremely strong coming out of a recession. They've positioned themselves very well with a huge cash balance so that if we get into that time where they just need to, bring in the cash because they're not bringing in any money in revenue, then they can get through all of this, build up the underlying fundamentals of the company stronger. And then when we come out of it, they'll be even stronger on the other side. I think Palantir is going to be one of those as well. Especially when we got a lot of turmoil going on around the world, Palantir is going to be very vital. Palantir has also proven to make companies more efficient as well. They have been showing with a lot of the big corporations that they're selling product to that they're saving a lot of money on the bottom line and becoming even better and profitable on the top line. So Palantir is going to be very vital, especially going into a recession, because these companies are going to be like, well, where can we save money? They're going to be saving money by payroll. Obviously, it's going to be the number one thing they're going to cut, which is why, usually recession is high unemployment. They'll get a lot of that. Palantir is going to provide a lot of the AI underneath, and then AI is going to help in a lot of positions as well going forward, which is one of the little concerns that I have as a potential very bearish case scenario is a lot of the positions out there that may end up getting eliminated from companies are the positions that could be taken over by the AI that we have right now. Could be, marketing creators, a bunch of digital content creators, things like that can be taken over by AI. Is that something that happens if we get into a deep recession with a lot of unemployment? Are these people just never going to get jobs again because they're going to be completely replaced by AI? That is one of the big bearish thoughts that I have that are going on. And I think Palantir, if you're looking at it from an investor standpoint, Palantir could be one of those companies that steps in and takes over a bunch of those roles. So yes, I think Palantir is going to be very strong, It's just going to be a matter of, what's going to happen in the next year. Do we get in a recession or not? I think regardless, Palantir is going to be great. But then the thoughts are, is the stock price going to come down before it goes back up, or is it just going to keep going up? And I think that all depends on the macro environment. Got that right, Craig. You learn more from failure than you do from success. And I've always said, and I can't remember which philosopher said it, but you learn more from a fool than you do from a wise man. Because somebody who knows how to do everything, that's great. You can learn how to do something, but the fool is going to teach you a lot of ways how not to do things and what not to do. Because even a wise man, and you go out there and say, all right, I'm going to do it this way, but you're always going to be like, well, what if this? Because if you're smart and you're wise yourself, you're always going to question everything. You're even going to question that wise man and be like, well, that wise man's doing it this way, but is there a better way? Guess what? That fool probably tried it in a different way and failed at it. And again, the fool is a fool for failing, but maybe he's not such a fool for failing because he tried a different way. But if that fool is going to continue failing and trying things and doing things the wrong way, you can learn from the fool more than you can from a wise man. Yep, I've been doing this a long time. The day you think you have learned anything is the day you need to get out. Every day is a day of learning and adjusting. So just like the quote that I have in the back from Elon back there, you guys can't see it, but the quote is about always think about ways to improve yourself. That's all it is. You are never going to be perfect. Always, always be seeking ways to improve yourself. That's it. Find new ways of doing things. Like I said, my spreadsheet that I have has been a work in progress and will always be a work in progress. And what I'm going to end up doing this weekend is I'm going to get it set up because I'm going to start doing some financial coaching. And anybody who's going to be a member or patron, I'll let it out, all that information to you guys first this weekend. And I'll set up a block of time every weekend for people who want to do a free assessment, or if they want to set up some paid time as well with me to sit down and go over it. And I'm going to clean up my spreadsheet. So, as I was showing you guys before, this whole spreadsheet, it's kind of, for me, it's fine because it gets the job done. But if I'm going to share it with other people to use, I've got to clean it up. So I'm going to make this, break it out into a template that's a very functional template for other people to take and make it their own. But it's literally everything to do with your finances every single day. So I have myself, the most important thing you can do for yourself is create a budget, create a plan, health and fitness, whether it's health and fitness, finance, whatever it is. If you don't have a plan, you're probably going to fail or you're going to struggle at succeeding. So if you have a plan, you just follow your plan. Then you can say, all right, well, this didn't work with my plan. Let me tweak it a little bit. You don't need to completely revamp it, but you can tweak it. So for me, I have my P&L. P&L, for those of you who don't know, is a profit and loss statement. This is exactly what companies have when it comes to their earnings reports. This is my own personal earnings report for myself. And so I'm going to have this out there for you guys to take this so you can create your own earnings report. And then this earnings report is all derived from all of my expenses. So I track every single penny that comes in and every single penny that goes out every single month. And again, this will all be there for you guys to use for yourself. And then I also come up, sometime around September, I usually do my budget for the following year. And I base it off of the 2024 budget. And that's something that, in our discussion, if you guys want to chat, I will share it all with you on how I break that down and determine all of those numbers. Then I've got my net worth. So I track all of my net worth. So as of right now, and I don't think I've updated it for 2 weeks because I was busy last weekend, but as of right now, my net worth is $187,960. This includes all the debts that I have that are out there. This includes money I have to pay to windows, college, things like that. I break it down for my non-dividend stocks, my real estate value that I have currently right now in the house. I've got my 401ks, my Roth, my HSA, and then all my cash and passive income. This is my literal everything. So this, you can see exactly where your net worth is going to be. And then I've also got my portfolio, of course. So my portfolio is right here, all broken down. And I do need to clean some of this up for you guys as well, for the people who are going to take in a template, because there's a lot of these numbers you guys don't need. But again, I want to be able to share this with you guys because that was the most important thing I needed to do for myself, is come up with a plan, a way to track my progress. So here's my plan. I can set it. When it comes to health and fitness, I know there's a lot of people, I suggest they use MyFitnessPal, and tracking your food is important. But the problem is a lot of people will take their food at the end of the day and track, hey, this is what I ate over the course of the day. Oh, I didn't hit my numbers. Darn. Now, how can I scramble at the end of the day to try and make up for that? Or, maybe you can't. Well, if you know what's good for you and you track it and you plan it at the beginning of the day, then you're guaranteed at the end of the day, as long as you follow your plan, that you're going to hit your goals. Same with finances. You plan out your entire month of all of your spending. You plan out your week. You plan out your entire year. You now say, hey, every single dollar is accounted for. I have my entire plan all set for how I'm going to spend my money. Then, and I always go conservative when it comes to income, and I'm a little more liberal with my expenses to give myself that padding because I'm going to keep my expenses as tight as I can. So I may have a little extra money at the end of the month. Maybe I made a little bit more money. So it's going to be even a little bit more money at the end of the month. Now I have this little extra nest egg at the end of the month, and I can either invest some of that money, I can pay off some debts if I've got it, and if you have paid off your debts, maybe you can go out and splurge and have a little bit of fun. You want to live life, but honestly, if you're in debt, you've lived your life. Tough shit. You have no choice. Pay off your debt. If this is something you want to do and you want to get yourself into a place where you're going to be wealthy in the future and you have debt, pay that shit off. That is the number one problem that people have right now is like, oh, I want to live my life. Well, too bad. You can't afford it. You can't afford to live your life the way you want to live it. That's why you don't have wealth. That's why you're in debt. So, I give a little tough love Tim sometimes, but honestly, that's what people need. It's like, if you want it, you want it. And when it comes to me helping everybody else out and doing this, what I'm going to be doing for the financial coaching is I can't help you if you're not willing to help yourself. That's it. I will match your efforts as far as that goes, as far as, you guys wanting to get wealthy, if you want to help your health and fitness, whatever it is, if you're going to help yourself and you're going to put in that effort, I will absolutely be there right by your side, helping you along the way. But if you're not going to help yourself, nothing I do is going to help. Nothing anybody does is going to help you. So there's only so much you can do there. All right, sorry, I was in the middle of my tough love tangent, but that's what I want to present to you guys is all of that in the future is to be able to do that. And anybody who's members and patrons, you'll get my live spreadsheet updates every single day, and they'll get you guys the template as well. David, what's going on, my friend? Welcome. So good to see all of you guys again. I'm so glad I'm doing this again, so thank you. So SEHD. So I made a video about it yesterday. So SEHD is one of my favorites. So I will put this on my my video on Sunday for my top 5 ETFs. It's my number 2. It's close to my number 1. It's my number 2 just because my number 1 is more all encompassing, is kind of more steady. But SEHD is a very close number 2, and SEHD is a very strong dividend growth and dividend paying yielding ETF. And actually, I'll share. I can pop it up here for you guys. So looking at here, so SEHD right here in this highlighted column. So right now it's trading at 84.26. So it has gone up. So I don't think it's going to run a ton into the split like a normal stock would, but apparently it did move up quite a bit today. So looking at the dividends, so the dividends and how they pay out when it comes to ETFs is you want to track it year over year based upon the quarter. So there was a huge, I think it was, forgive me if I'm wrong, it's like a 14% increase over Q3's payout last year. So it's down from Q2 of this year, but it's up huge over last year, which is now tracking to be a 14% increase year over year entirely for the entire annual payout of a dividend. And so think about it. When was the last time you got a 14% increase in your pay at your job? I know I haven't unless I've gotten promoted. So because of that, like having an income producer like this is insane. So that was a huge dividend increase. And so this will be splitting 3-1. So I'll end up having just over 46 shares here. So going from my 15 to 46, and I have another 40 over in my IRA as well. So another big reason why this is huge is the fact that now options will be able to play much easier on it. So it'll split down to about $28. And at $28, now you need $2,800 to play options on it. A lot more accessible to a lot more people. I'm actually going to start looking at playing puts on this just because I think puts are one of the easiest ways to start getting into options. And I still need to learn that myself. So please don't question me too much on it because I need to learn a lot. But when it comes to options, playing a put on it is basically, right now I set limit buys sometimes for some of the stocks and ETFs I want and say, hey, for instance, I like SCHD. If it gets down to $80, I want to buy more on top of what I already have my plan set for. So if I wanted to buy this at $80, I can now, instead of just setting a buy, I can set an option to purchase that, and I would make premium on it as well. If it doesn't make it down to that level, I get the money from the premium. If it brings down to that level, then I buy it and I make the premium. So it's a little added bonus on top of it, but just having that extra cash. Now I need $8,400. When it splits, I'll need $2,800, much more accessible. But going over to what I was talking about before with the yield, so it is currently yielding almost 3.6%. So with this yielding 3.6% and growing at a 14% year over year, that is unicorn-ish type numbers right there. And judging by the fact that my yield on cost is higher than my actual yield, that means that it also has a valuation appreciation. So the equity appreciation is going up, the yield is good at over 3.5%, and the dividend growth is over 14%. So that is one of the reasons why that is one of my top favorites is that that's the trifecta. You want a stock or an ETF that are going to be growing in value over time, and some of the higher income ones like a JEPI or a JEPQ may not grow as much, but you make up for it with the income. So you want something that's going to pay out a decent yield, have dividend growth, and have stock appreciation. Now, when you look at companies, and I'll show down here, like companies, for instance, that have a much lower yield. So looking at Nvidia, Meta, Apple, Costco, Mastercard, a lot of these, Visa, a lot are very low yields, under 1%, but their dividend growth is significantly higher. Like I think Nvidia went up 150% on their dividend. Of course, they pay out very, very little, but they can grow that significantly, and still 150% growth in their dividend payout is massive. And that's a dollar amount. You're not paying your bills with yield. You're paying your bills with dollars. So if you're seeing the dollars going up every year, that's important. And so you've got things like MasterCard, Visa, they're going up 15 to 20% year over year on their dividend growth. That's huge. And on top of that, they also have massive stock appreciation, valuation appreciation. It's huge. So like my all-time total returns on MasterCard or Costco, 27%, Visa, 16.5%. CTOS, this is actually a sleeper. I'm going to discuss Centos on one of my third video, the third part where it's dividend growth. This is like a sleeper that nobody talks about. I bought this thing. Let me see what my cost basis was on this. So cost basis was $152 that I ended up buying Cintas at. Now, they did a split that nobody was talking about. This was announced back in May. It just split recently. So I bought it in at $152. It's now trading at $200. That is a 30% increase, not even including the dividends. That is insane. So that's why I'm up over 33% on this, because it just keeps going. American Express is another one. I'm up over 40% on American Express. And I bought this one. Let me see what my cost basis on American Express is. $190. Now trading at $271. So again, looking at sorry, hold on a second. I'll read my dad's comment. So, just looking at the growth you can get from this, you got to balance it all out. And these are things I'm going to discuss as I get into those future videos for you guys to kind of teach some of you the education that I've learned from myself. Just because I want to make sure that you guys understand it as well and learn what I've learned. And that's basically what I'm going to do with my financial coaching, and I'll do it on here on the videos. Let me see. Oh yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say, what time is it there? Because when I plan on going over there to visit, and you're gonna take me castle hunting, I'll have to deal with the time zone changes. Speak up. I have a Miramar Air Show going outside. Yeah, my dad's in San Diego, so they got the air base right near there. That's awesome. Sorry, I'll try to do my best, or you could watch the recording later. Oh man, so and again, this is one of the reasons why I switched over to the dividend investing. And again, Tesla's on a massive run as well right now. I'll jump into that when I saw it's been pushing up. So $260. Now, some people, have given me crap for selling out, but this is the price I sold out at. So we're now back to where I sold. I can't, if it goes up from here, that's awesome. It's still, I think Tesla's going to be awesome long term, but my focus has switched over to income. And I think I will be able to get income from Tesla in 10 years. And yes, maybe the overall return will be there. Maybe I'll kick myself, but my strategy right now and just my mental state is much happier doing the way I'm doing it now. And again, still own 2 shares here. I still have, with all of my ETFs, most of these have Tesla in them. And on top of that, I've got more shares in my IRA and more ETFs in my IRA that have Tesla, and my 401k has Tesla in it. So I'm well exposed to Tesla, even though I only have 2 shares in my main portfolio. I am well exposed to Tesla. And I'm still dollar cost averaging across the board in many of my other areas for Tesla with the ETFs. So again, I'm not concerned about missing out on this. I'm not going to get FOMO from any of this. I think it's awesome. And those of you guys who still have a lot of Tesla stock, I think it's great that you're doing well on this. And I hope it runs up to $300. Looking at how the potential year might play out when it comes to the stock market itself, obviously, we have the election coming up in about 5 weeks, so we could have a lot of uncertainty in that time. Some people think we're going to get a massive sell-off in October. Maybe we do. It's usually uncertainty is what ends up causing the market to sell off. And then don't forget, no company's going to be doing buybacks until the end of October. There's a blackout period for all of that. We've got earnings that are going to be coming up starting in the middle to end of October as well. So there's a lot of things. And then, of course, we still have turmoil going on in the Middle East. So things like that. Any one of these things in unemployment numbers, whatever it is, could be that tipping point to sell off and just kind of give the market an excuse to thin us all out. Right now, the fear and greed index, let me see, I just had it up here. Let me see if I can find it for you because I just had it up. Yeah, whatever. I was looking at it before, but it's at 68, so it's in the greed territory. So we are in greed. We're not in extreme greed. So we've seen it fluctuate back and forth. We still have some room to grow and push up into extreme greed, but we're in greed. So we're at the point where right now where maybe people are looking for an excuse to sell off. We just keep on moving up, and every time we see a little bit of a pullback, it doesn't last long, and it just keeps moving up. We've been up and up and up and up and up for basically a year. We've had 3 kind of significant sell-offs this year, and that was it. A couple of 7% corrections, and then the August 5th scenario that happened for a couple of days, and then we recovered like that very quickly. Within a week, we were right back up, no problems. So we really haven't had at least anything sustained as far as a sell-off going on. So maybe October is the time that we're going to get the sustained sell-off. Maybe it happens after the election, but typically, historically, after the election, we kind of run into the end of the year. We see a little bit of a pop after the election, a little bit of a sell-off, and then basically from like Thanksgiving to the end of the year, it's kind of an upward trend. Obviously not straight up, but we see, a little bit ups and downs, but mostly up. Maybe we end up pushing into the end of the year. Maybe we do end up rallying to the end of the year, and then we start to get some financial data at the end of the year that's kind of leading us to believe that things aren't as good. Maybe we end up getting those retail numbers in January, and they're like, those were pretty sad retail numbers. You know what? We definitely were in a recession. And then we do a massive sell-off come the changeover for when it comes to the new presidential person who's going to be in there. So that happens in February. So, that might happen. Maybe we end up continuing to go up and we push even higher. We're starting to see some very beaten down stocks rallying at this point. And that's kind of one of the call signs of, we're starting to hit that very top of the market, which is obviously tons of companies making all-time highs, stocks that have been beaten down, starting to buy, starting to move up. And it's because, well, a lot of the other stuff is already up. So the upside for a lot of the companies that have been moving up is limited. So people are now taking that money and funneling it into the other stocks, and they're kind of pushing up everything in the market, and even beaten down stocks are there. Cryptocurrency is moving up significantly. So with all of that, we're kind of at a point where we're pushed up. Maybe we're getting really extra frothy and we're just waiting for that thing and give us that excuse to sell off. And, that might just be where we're at this point. Let me see. I think a binary day for Tesla coming with deliveries and robotaxis soon. I think can go to 50 either way. So that's a good point. And historically with Tesla, whenever it's had one of these events, it's always, every single time has been a sell the news situation. Now, again, here we're running into it. So Tesla has been kind of, I wouldn't say garbage, but really it's been underperforming its peers for the last year, more than last couple of years. But even though it's moved up from, that 140 level that we kind of cleared down below, moving back up, it's had a nice little bit of a run. We're still at the point where it's been pushing up probably going to get a sell off from that. And again, I think between delivery numbers, and I think delivery numbers are going to be good. The numbers coming out of China have seemed like they're pretty darn good. We'll see what all the numbers look like here in the US. China, obviously being one of the bigger markets for Tesla, is going to be pretty significant. So Tesla comes in with good delivery numbers, it's still going to come down to, well, what's your profitability? Because they still were taking a lot of these deals when it comes to all of the financing and things like that. So bottom line numbers may still not be good. What are their margins looking like? I mean, if they're still not good, it's not going to matter. And then you look at Robotaxi Day, and I don't think they're going to tell us about the compact car at Robotaxi Day because it would just cannibalize the Model 3. And they don't want to do that. Because if they said, hey, Q2, we're going to be coming out with a compact car, by the way, it's going to cost you $25,000. That's not even, and that's before all of the EV tax credits and everything else. People are going to be like, oh, I'm not going to buy any Model 3 at this point. Now I'm going to wait. It's the Osborne effect. So you're going to say, hey, I'm not going to be buying any of these vehicles now. I'll wait on that Model 3, wait on that Model Y. I'll get the compact car later because I can save myself $10,000 to $15,000 on that. And Tesla's not going to want to do that. But from hearing that it's supposedly going to have the same platform, we can at least get an idea of what that compact car is going to look like. And if they give us any inclination as far as pricing for the Robotaxi when it comes to the cost of manufacturing it, then we can kind of start working some numbers when it comes to the cost of manufacturing for that compact car. And then you can start working in some of those margins to say, well, what price would Tesla be selling this at? Is Tesla going to be profitable on this? All of that stuff that's going to be going on. So you might be able to figure that out. But if Tesla's not going to give us any of those number information, then it's truly probably not going to matter at all. And it's just going to be a sell the news situation. And unless Tesla comes out with robotaxis and says, FSD solved, robotaxis are going live in Q2 of next year, we're going to be level 5 autonomy. If that happens, forget about it. We'll go to the moon. I highly doubt that's going to happen. So Jay Liz, I'm amazed how many TMs seeing on the roads here in the Midwest. I've actually, the amount of friends I have here in Connecticut, I've seen one Cybertruck in the wild, and lots of my friends sending me pictures and telling me about Cybertrucks that they're seeing all over the place here in Connecticut. So Cybertrucks are out there like crazy. I mean, Teslas obviously have been here in Connecticut, just because, especially where I'm at now, I'm near a more affluent area. The town I'm in is not, but it's right next to a couple of more areas that are, and lots of Teslas, lots of Teslas. Yeah, 2 Cybertrucks from you, yeah. So even those are out there. So it's like quietly creeping up. And again, Tesla not having the sentiment like it had before. I don't want to say it lost steam, but it's just kind of like it's not as prevalent as it was. And maybe it's because I've removed myself from the community, so it doesn't seem as prevalent. It's just like that study that says that when you're focusing on something, you tend to see more of that thing. So when you're focusing on Tesla all the time, you tend to see more of that. Maybe it's because I've removed myself from the community that I don't see as much of the chatter going on. But it's there. And so Tesla's still building despite the fact that, it's not as popular as it was because, the numbers are down. Yeah. And if any of you guys are down in Florida, please be careful. Florida, going up into Georgia, all that whole area there. Oh my goodness. Be careful out there. That's wild. Crazy, crazy weather. Because if Jim Cantori's out there, you're in trouble. You definitely don't want to be there anymore if he's there. Let me see. So what else we have this week? So PCE debt again. I talked about that before. Kind of a nothing burger on that. So really no news when it came to PCE. Of course, just giving us that inclination that inflation it's under control right now. And I discussed it the other day about when it comes to China. China is now doing something to stimulate their economy, trying to stop the deflation that's going on over there and build that back up. And one of the main reasons why we had seen such good inflation decline going on here in the US is a lot of the imported goods that we get from China were coming down in price as well. So our prices were able to come down and level off, and our inflation isn't as high. If China's numbers and inflation are going to start going back up again, that means that our inflation will start going back up again as well. So we kind of have to monitor that. I don't think that's going to get out of control and cause any major issues, but it's just something to kind of pay attention to as far as if we're going to start paying for goods and the goods that we're paying for are going up, that means that the goods that consumers are going to be paying for are going to be going up. There in turn means that inflation is going to go back up. True inflation has us at about a 1.53 right now, whereas CPI has us at a 2.5. So somewhere, even it's probably somewhere in between those two numbers, probably around a 2%, which is right around where the Fed wants us to be anyway, is around that 2%. So that's good if we can hold it at that level and it's easier for the Fed to control. Now, another thing that we had been discussing, oh yeah, Baba to the moon. And, Michael Burry was buying back into a lot of these Chinese stocks, Baba, Tencent, JD.com, a lot of these companies they were buying into, and Baidu. So all of those companies have been taking off like crazy, basically since, like let's call it late spring. They've been moving up significantly because China's economy has been starting to recover. And now, of course, with China coming out here and actually doing something to stimulate the economy is going to make that even better. I'm not invested in any of those companies. It's not within my risk tolerance threshold. I didn't want to play any of those games. But for you guys out there, even for you, Dad, if you want to try those, I'm sure you've been looking into them. But those are good plays, and they have moved up quite a bit. But I think they're going to continue to move up just because China is really looking to stimulate that economy and get it growing again. I think this is just the beginning for a lot of those. Tacos I was about to talk about. Whatever. I don't care. We're having fun here. Yeah, totally lost my train of thought. Totally worth it though, because talking about China stocks was important. Cryptocurrency too, by the way, also moving back up. Now, cryptocurrency moves a lot by the technicals. You can say there's sentiment that goes around it, but it's not like a company that has an earnings report that can say, oh, it had good earnings or anything like that. It's a currency, but it's a currency that's traded not like normal currency that's out there, like the dollar or any other currency that's out there. We'll call it the casino currency at the moment because that's basically what it's traded as. But if you're going to be playing cryptocurrency, just follow the technicals. It follows them very, very closely. It really obeys the technicals when it comes to all the movements in the stock prices or the cryptocurrency prices on them. So just follow those. I have them. I've got mine. I'll show you guys here. So I've got Bitcoin, Ethereum, Doge, and Sheeb. And again, I've thinned out some of these positions. So I had my threshold here. So when I was over $1,000 in Bitcoin, I trimmed a little bit off the top of that. When I was over $500 in Ethereum, trimmed off of there. Might trim some Doge, might not. I don't know. It's kind of a fun one that I have. If Sheep goes over $500, I'll trim some more of that. And that's kind of what strategy was here, was just thinning those when they were running up and then they came back down. And I just waited once they fell under my threshold and I just held. And now they're coming back up again. And my strategy from here is supposedly based upon what a lot of people are saying is these cryptocurrencies are about to take off and run, and we might see the Bitcoin go to 150. I don't know what it's going to do, but if it does end up doing that, I will do the same thing and I'll start trimming a little bit more off at the top there because it always makes that massive pullback. And if it does a massive pullback, it might go to 150 but pull all the way back down to maybe 80. So if it ends up doing that, then I'll have and just follow my whole strategy here. And I'll say, all right, well, we're back at that level and I'll buy there. And people will argue and say, well, why don't you buy in now if you think that's going to happen? Two reasons. One, I have no idea if that's going to happen. So I'm not going to buy and gamble on that whatsoever. And two, it's not within my parameters for my purchasing point, and it would put me past the percentage I would like to have in my portfolio of these. It's more than I would be comfortable with. But at that time after the run and the sell-off, then I would have more cash to work with. It would be a smaller position in my portfolio. Then I would have room to add. And adding at 80 versus 65, honestly, when it comes to the cryptocurrency and the small position in my portfolio, doesn't make much of a difference. I'll trim that little bit off the top, add it to something else, make more income, refresh, reset, wash it away, and do it again. So that's my strategies on those. I see, Dad. China stocks move on the whim of the Chinese government, not something I would trust to a great extent. That's another great point too. One of the risks to have to look at when it comes to the Chinese stocks is, at least here in the U.S., if you're buying them, you're not actually buying the company. That's not allowed. When it comes to the CCP, they don't allow any of their companies to be traded outside of in foreign soil. They can only be sold there. So what they do is they go through the Cayman Islands, and they have all the stocks over there held in different holding companies, and these holding companies then would be able to put them onto our exchanges, and that's how we buy them. So we're not actually buying them from the company themselves; we're buying them through a subsidiary. And so by doing that, that becomes very dangerous and risky because at any point the CCP can just be like, "Nope, you can't do that anymore." Boom, it's done. You're gone. So whether they're going to do that or not, I doubt it because they're still getting that money flowing in and they like that cash inflow to those, especially massive companies. But the way it works over there is, it's no different than some of the corruption that we have here in the US when it comes to lobbying. Over there, you see a lot of the big companies like Tencent and Alibaba, donating billions of dollars to the CCP on their own free will for different things. Whatever it is, whether it's actually legit or not, I don't know, but that's what's happening. So obviously, the CCP is getting billions of dollars from these companies. They're not going to want to turn down that money. But at any point, the CCP can just say, "Nope, we're done with that," and they can do whatever they want. So a little bit different. Was about just buying Coinbase. Oh, what about just buying Coinbase? So not a bad idea to buy Coinbase. Coinbase it's a little bit different than it does track with the cryptocurrencies, but you have to pay attention to the inflows and outflows when it comes to Coinbase because now that you've got a lot of the ETFs that are out there as well, those inflows do change quite a bit. So just pay attention to those when it comes to Coinbase and their underlying securities, because again, that is a company versus the cryptocurrency, which is a currency. So just pay attention to those two. I personally have Coney, which is CONY, which is the yield max synthetic covered call options ETF. Huge income coming in from that. Does have massive NAV erosion, but I've made so much money on it right now. It could literally go to zero and I would still be profitable on it. So it doesn't phase me to hold on to it now and make some money. So buying Coinbase isn't bad. I think just like with Riot and Marathon, those two are going to be the crypto miners. Those typically go up when crypto is going up as well. So that could be another play to go also. Let me see. President Trump was the spokesman at the Trump convention in Florida a couple of months ago. Huge if he gets elected again. It is. As far as I'm concerned, when it comes to any elections whatsoever, it really doesn't matter. The market it'll run on sentiment. But in reality, once that person gets elected, they have to actually do something that's going to make a difference when it comes to, the regulations behind that. And then you have to go through all the red tape and all that stuff that's going to be going on out there. So it's great that Trump is talking about that. But if he gets elected, is he actually going to be able to do something about that? And again, that's questions that won't be answered for a while. We don't know if it's actually going to happen. We don't even know if he's going to win the election. So too many ifs for me to play it off of that. If it happens, awesome. That's great. But I think either way, regardless of who wins, cryptocurrency is going to do its thing one way or the other. And if there's a sentiment push one way or the other, we may see a little bit of a spike out of it or maybe a little bit of a dip out of it, but it will rebalance itself and come back to where it's at. Karav, what's going on, my friend? How are things? How is school? Gosh, we haven't talked in a while. Yes. My son's in college right now. He's in his first semester over at UMKC in Kansas City. So hope you are doing well, my friend. Oh, I didn't know that you were down there. I mean, you were talking about it. I didn't realize you were that close. Yeah, be very careful down there. Maybe you have a Cybertruck yourself that you can go hunker down in. But yeah, definitely be careful, please. Let's see. Yep. So let me see. Went over PCE, cryptocurrency, the SCHD split. Oh, Indianapolis. Oh, really? That's right. That storm is huge, though. Okay. All right. That storm is huge. Is the winds that you're facing right now from the hurricane, or is it from different storms that are coming through? Yeah. Cal Comerc. Now, for you guys who haven't been around for a while or who are new to the channel, Karav here, when I was a lot more heavily into Tesla, he was my numbers man. He would be running numbers with me for all the deliveries, earnings reports, all the valuation models and everything. He actually helped me redo my entire valuation model for Tesla. Kid's brilliant. Love him. Love him. Awesome. Yeah, haven't been following Tesla in a while. How's this quarter looking? Record deliveries. Karav, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I haven't been tracking heavily, but I will be tracking. We'll be doing video about the deliveries that are coming out next week. Seems like based on China, we are looking at decent numbers coming out from there. So could see good delivery numbers. I think it is going to be a record quarter when it comes to deliveries. I don't know if we're going to hit 500,000, but it could be close. We'll see how that plays out. Again, I haven't been tracking it closely, so I couldn't even venture a guess at this point. But I think it's going to be some good numbers. And as Jay Lizard puts it, yeah, October 10th, Robotaxi Day. We'll see how the event goes. We'll see how the stock reacts. But either way, as I've always mentioned, I don't care how the stock reacts one way or the other. I'm going to take the information from that event and then do my own due diligence and thesis on that event and what I think it's going to mean for the company in the long term based upon that event and the information we got from it. That's it. Just like we've got from every other event before, a lot of these events, they give us information and things don't come to fruition for 3 or 5 years. And some still haven't come to fruition yet, but they are working on them. So again, it always comes down to, do you have faith that the company is actually going to make these things happen? If so, that's actually going to play out very well and increase the valuation of the company. Let's see. Not taking parts, but about Tesla, considering Elon's behavior on X with a post against Harris, sometimes directly insults. Yeah. Every 20 minutes. What do you think can happen if she wins the election? So here's the real funny part when it comes to Tesla is obviously we know when Tesla first came out, it was more of a left-wing vehicle, we'll call it. There was a lot of people on the right who are more about ICE vehicles, gas, oil, Midwest, people like that. And they're like, we're not going to go electric. It's never going to work. And a lot of people on the right were bashing electric vehicles. Well, now Elon is kind of more siding with the right. So people are saying that people on the left aren't buying them, and I'm sure some aren't because they're just that far left wing, but there's still a lot of people out there who truly don't care. They don't give a crap about any of this. So if they think that it's going to be a better vehicle for the bang for the buck, lower cost over the long term, they're going to buy it regardless. So Elon's, antics and discussions and whatever on X truly aren't going to matter for the most part. And when it comes to the election, if Harris wins, and you can say maybe Elon's brilliant for this, but he's siding with Trump, which could get some people on his side on the right who are going to buy more Teslas. Then you've got people on the left who maybe they're not, but they're kind of making up for it by him being on the side of the right. Then if Harris does end up winning, they're obviously pushing for green energy and EVs. So if they handcuff Tesla, they handcuff everyone because Tesla's leading the market here in the US. So they can't do that. So they can't kibosh EVs if that's the push they're playing for, because then that's completely contradictory to their entire platform. So it's kind of a brilliant move, and I don't think it's actually going to matter in the long run. Again, it's all politics. It's all this blah 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 yappity yappity yappity. In my entire lifetime, it hasn't mattered who's been president. Life's going to move on. It's going to come down to me doing what's best for me, and I think that's exactly what's going to play out. So it's a lot of talk, a lot of emotions getting involved right now. Especially I'm sure you guys see it on any social media that you're on. Anytime you're going into election, especially a presidential election, there's just so much BS that's going on out there. People are so emotional, getting all worked up and arguing with each other. Dude, it's just not worth it. So, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And within the next month and a half, it'll be over and done with. And, unless we get another one of those close races where they're complaining about cheating and blah, 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 whatever. But yeah, that's my thoughts on all that. How much are you factoring the election and the role of X in this equation? Honestly, not much. Over the next 5 weeks, maybe a little bit because the entire market would fluctuate. But at the end of the day, it's not really going to matter. It's all going to reset just like it does every single year. People are like, oh, well, these certain stocks are going to do well if this president wins, or these certain stocks are going to do well if this president wins. And then it all comes down to it. And honestly, we're probably going to have a divided government anyway when it comes down to it, because we're going to, either way, we're not going to have, one party having all three, Senate, Congress, and presidency. So it's going to be exactly what the market wants anyway. You're going to have a divided government. You're going to have no decisions getting made. Everything is going to be slow moving. That means that the spending is going to be down. That's what the market wants, because the market honestly would say, we don't want any spending. You spend too much money on frivolous crap anyway, so let's knock that crap off. And, realistically, that's what we're going to see. And so because we're going to see that, that's it. I respectfully disagree if Trump wins advertising on X will blossom. I just got an ad from McDonald's the other day. I like how you did that. Well played, sir. Well played. Um, so advertising, sure. I mean, I think X itself will be fine. I think X is a great platform. They truly do believe in the free speech. I think it's been even. It may not seem like it to some people, especially on the left, who have been saying, now it's a right wing platform, but it's not. It really comes down to what people are seeing. I honestly don't know. I can't say one way or the other. I'm not on the platform that much anymore right now, just because I was had a really busy summer. Which, Karav, I will get to your question in a second. But that's it may be great for X itself, but I think X is going to be fine regardless. And again, it's going to end up riding along with the coattails of the likes of Google and Amazon, and all the other platforms out there for social media, Meta, that are doing a lot of the advertising. And it's going to sit with a lot of those. They're going to have the same regulations that they're going to have to face, and deal with all of that. And if Trump ends up winning, he's going to have the same regulations. And you can say that Trump is out there saying that he's going to go after Google because their algorithm has been pushing more stuff negatively towards him. It is. It is. Yeah. And again, I'm not going to get into too much more politics. My dad's right. I don't like to get into too much politics here. But as far as the actual company's growth goes, it's not. I don't think it's going to show that much. So here you go, Karav. So personal life for me. Bought the house. In the house, I actually have 3 tours I'm giving tomorrow because I'm trying to rent out a couple of rooms in my house. In the studio I'm in right now, where I'm looking in front of me, will end up being my kitchenette that I'm going to be having built in the next couple of months. My son is in college, as I had said. Investing has been going strong. I'm going to start doing some financial coaching. I'm going to start doing some life coaching. I'm going to start doing some health and fitness coaching some more as well. Really kind of building up. And as I've discussed with you guys before, thoughts of a potential recession. I want to make sure I have streams of income coming in just in case, worst case scenario, I lose my job. Either way, if I don't lose my job, I still want to build up these streams of income coming in so that I can eventually leave my job with an early retirement as something to fall back on. So I'm going to start working on building all of that up myself. Hopefully I'll get that plan all set this weekend, and then start working on that in the next couple of weeks to break out some blocks of time to go out there and share all of that, because that, quite honestly, is what I want to do for the future. So I want to do all of that and then step away. So like the platform that I had built with my website and everything previously, it was like one of those learning curves I was discussing before. I tried it, learned that some things were good, some things weren't going to work for me. And the website I was paying for at the time wasn't worth it. I wasn't getting that return on the income because I didn't have a plan. Now that I've taken a step back, I have a much better plan, a much better focus, so I can go back at it now with a much better plan of attack and be able to be more successful with it. So that's where I'm moving with that. And again, if I can get the house rented out for a short term, I'm trying to do like a 3 to 6 month rental right now. Whereas if I can get that rented out, have the income coming in, it'll pay for the kitchenette that I have putting in here. It'll get the rest of my little credit card paid off, be able to invest a little bit more money and put more money aside for refinancing this house when the rates come down in a couple of years, and being able to buy the second property that I want to buy. Then on top of that, I'm also looking to get myself qualified to be able to rent out to Section 8. Here in my area, I qualify for the house size that I have for $2,220 a month from the government. That's what they just set the rate on it. That's all it is. So they set the rate as to what that size of house or apartment would be rented for. So I'm going to get myself approved for all of that. So once this short-term rental is done, I can then look out there and start getting that in, because again, looking at a potential recession coming, I don't want to be renting out to tenants that may potentially lose their job. Now, I'm always here to help people out, but if they lose their job and I lose my job, then I'm screwed. And I need to make sure I'm protecting myself as well. So if I have somebody in here who is on Section 8, that's government money that's going to be coming in. That's guaranteed money. So that to me is a lot safer bet to go with. And that's the route I'm going to go on that end. Plus, Section 8 is still somebody else who is, they're struggling financially. And if I can help them out too, I want to do that. That's kind of one of my big reasons for going into this. It's like, I can help you and you can help me at the same time. And it's a win-win situation. So that's pretty much it, Karav. That's where I'm at in my personal life. So working twice as hard now so I can work half as much later is my focus at the moment. Oh gosh, we've been longest one so far recently, almost 55 minutes. Yes, thank you. And I'll keep you guys posted. And Karav, I'll throw out to you as well I was talking about it before. When I finish my whole template and spreadsheet and stuff, I'll share it with you as well, so you can take a look at that. Um, I'm sure you have something for yourself also, but I'll share mine with you about tracking all your income expenses, a whole entire P&L for myself, my own earnings report, like my own valuation report that I created for myself. You'd be very proud. All right, so that's it. I'm going to call it an evening, guys. I'm going to go take a little break here. I've had a long week. Awesome live stream as always. Thank you guys all so much for being here. Hope you guys are staying safe if you're down near that hurricane, or even for you, Jay Lizard, in the area you're in. Hope you're staying safe there also. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support. Have a great one.